events of our city. Ask guidance as we do so that we'll be able to make appropriate decisions according to the law and that will make our city a better place. And we say this in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. The audience, please rise and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight we have, is Commissioner Johnson online? You fell? Okay. Vice Chair Hunter and Commissioner Dallas Johnson are not here tonight. And so next is adoption of meeting agenda. The meeting agenda has been posted in accordance with state law. Make a motion to adopt.
So moved.
All in, or does I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item is public comment. Welcome, Commissioner Hunter. And next item for public comment, this is an opportunity for the public to address the Planning Commission on items that are not already scheduled for public hearings on tonight's agenda. There are 2 items on there for public hearings. So if you have a comment regarding either of those public hearings, I ask you to hold your comment for when that public hearing time is. But if you have a comment to make, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and try and keep your comment to about 3 minutes or less. Okay, go ahead and close public comment.
Mr. Chair, did we adopt the agenda?
Or the meeting minutes.
We adopted the meeting, we did the agenda, not the meeting minutes.
Hmm.
Okay, we'll go back to item 2. We have, no, appreciate that. Thank you for the catch. Next item, or backup item number 2 is adopt the regular and meeting and work sessions from April 16th. So if anyone has any corrections or adjustments, if not, take a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And thanks for the catch, Commissioner King. The next item is a public hearing site plan request from Jeremy Bingham for approval of site plan for an office warehouse in the neighborhood services zone. I don't know, Royce, I guess since Noah's disappeared, you must have this one.
I do, yes. Let's see. So this is it's a commercial site plan. This is located on 300 South, just east of 1550 West. There's Highway 193. This is the Syracuse Arts Academy satellite campus, and Risson Mortuary, Jerry's Auto, and then there's a car wash here. So, let's see here. What's being proposed is it's a landscape business building. So essentially we'll have the building, and then there's going to be storage of landscape materials in the back. So let me zoom out here. There we go. So this is the building, insulated metal panel. They have glass. This is kind of a mixture of, well, I guess there's also concrete down here as well. So pretty simplistic in the design. We went through the architectural review committee a couple of weeks ago, and they did not generate any comments from that meeting. Or they did, sorry, they did. They recommended that they add some glass. That has been done. So all of the comments and discussion there, we did discuss some code things such as breaking up the facade and so on, but a lot of those mirrored my comments in the staff review. So give you an overview of the site plan down here. There we go.
In your staff comments, there's a concern exterior materials. Is that still a concern, or is that?
Yeah, and I'll get to that. There's kind of, well, 2 issues really. But just as far as the overall layout of the site, so this cul-de-sac here, the access is going to be just before the cul-de-sac, and they've got this area is ungated, and then there's a gate here, and everything behind this is controlled access, and the building acts as part of the gate and then continues over here. So you don't have public access to the rear of the property. There is public access to that front door on the building. So it's kind of there at an angle. But otherwise controlled access. So the 2 staff comments that we had that were remaining, I wanted to bring to planning commission for discussion for the applicant's request. The first one is cross access. So the code does require internal off-road cross access between businesses. So Jer's Auto here to the east was developed several years ago, and there was not cross access provided. So there's nowhere to connect to on that side. So, but this is undeveloped here, and so the code technically requires cross access. The intent of that ordinance, to my understanding, and again, we don't have the intent written out in the code or anything, but to my understanding, the intent there is that we're trying to keep vehicles off the street and minimize the number of turns and potential conflicts that would cause accidents. So a good example being, say, down at the 1000.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, you know.
Practicing this screen's recording. Well, that's gonna let them hear you.
There we go. Um, so if, yeah, there we go. So what was I saying again? Yeah, so the administrative variance thing. So in our case, or in this case, the variance or the it wouldn't necessarily be available because it's not written into the code. And so without going through a separate process, a variance wouldn't be possible. But if the planning commission determines that this meets the intent of the ordinance and you can make an argument, findings that it does meet the ordinance, then you can go ahead and approve it. Again, just a straight up approval though, because of those two issues that are clear code issues wouldn't be possible. So if you do want to approve it, we need to acknowledge those things and identify how it does meet that code. So again, the applicants requested that. So I would also, I mean, the applicant's going to be speaking anyway, but I would have them make the case for why that does meet the ordinance. Otherwise, though, all the other comments have been addressed. These changes that have been made, we've got some significant structural changes with the roof line and the facade, and gone through. I guess this is the second iteration of it. So, But yeah, based on that, again, if we were to recommend approval here, it would be, again, conditional approval, either that staff comments be met, or if there was an approval, it needs to be clearly identified how this is meeting the code. So I will, and I have the code for reference here in my review, if you'd like me to go over that. But I can go over the specifics of.
Okay, that would be great if you would show us in the code.
Absolutely. Yep. So let's see. Did that not? Oh, okay. I'm not seeing it there. That's strange. Let me pull up my review from the file then. I'm not sure why that's not included there. Okay, here we go. So first one is going to be this section here. So exposed tilt-up concrete or insulated metal panels may be used as primary material on buildings located in the business park zone. And it's not in the business park zone. It's nearly 100% metal paneling. So and I said general commercial, it is neighborhood services. So either way, not in the business park zone. So that would apply.
So what does it actually require then?
So 65% of all surface materials, not including glass, roofing materials, are required to include a combination of brick, stone, ceramic tile, masonry materials, insulated metal panel, or wood fiber composite siding. So they do meet this part here. That's the minimum requirement, but it's that the insulated metal panel is the primary material. That's the issue. And then the second one is going to be, so there's this kind of context. This is more of a fluffy one, and that's really up to interpretation in terms of the context of the area. If I look at, let's see here, I'm going to pull up the street view. This is really probably more of just an architecture timing situation in terms of when things were constructed. So we have a variety down here. So we've got kind of this brown stucco, and brown architectural block. And then this one's brownish on top, and then we have the stone, and then like red brick, right? So we've got white. It's really not what do you call it? It's not hugely out of place, but it's also not really like anything else in the area. So
How big is the lot to the west of it?
lot to the west is 0.926.
Okay. So it's not something you'd anticipate having a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at I mean, you got this use that's going in, and then we have the car washes. It's kind of something on that scale.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, so there we go. So it's cross access. So cross access for automobiles and pedestrians to future and existing commercial developments is required during initial site planning and construction. So again, it's very, let's see here. Yeah, so it's very, very clear. So those are really the two issues. Again, like I said, the context thing, I mean, that's hard to say one way or the other. I left it in there because it is different than anything that's in the area, but everything in the area is different. So
Okay, thank you. This is scheduled for public hearing tonight, so we'll go ahead and open public hearing. This again is for just this specific item. If you have a comment, please come up and state your name and address and make your comment. And again, please hold about 3 minutes or less.
My name is Preston Croxford. I'm actually on the design team for this, so I don't know if this is my opportunity to speak or if I need
Or
to.
I can call, if you want to take longer than 3 minutes, we can have you come up in a few minutes as soon as we're done.
I don't necessarily need longer than 3 minutes.
Okay.
Mainly, it's just a couple clarifications to what was said, which is just, mostly fine. The rear access, it is gate controlled, but the idea is that it was stated that there's no public access. The idea is that the gate is open. It is a public service, is what they're doing. I mean, they're providing open to the public to come and get landscape materials. So the gate is scheduled to be open during business hours. So there is access to the rear of the site for the public during business hours. But yeah, he's correct that it does have gated access. And the exterior cladding material, even though Royce is correct that the materials are shown as insulated metal panels, in actuality, as we've been looking at it with the contractor, the anticipation is that it won't be insulated metal panels. It'll just be a single skin metal panel with insulation, but it's just a slightly different material. But appearance wise, it basically looks the same as what's represented there. And then we also just wanted to make a statement about the cross access, which Royce had kind of indicated was maybe not as applicable here as it may be, states in the zoning ordinance, and, recognizing that the existing properties on that street don't currently have that cross access. So it seems odd that that request would be needing to be implemented at this point. So, that's it. Just mainly some clarifications there. Thank
We
you.
may call you up afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Brian Bagnell with Belogic Construction. We're the general contractor that's been hired by Jeremy to Earthworks to do this project. And just as a note, we are pre-engineered building specialists. And so with the building, we talk about the metal panel, but the metal panel is not going to be what everybody's used to, a ribbed type look that doesn't look very good in a nice area. The panel's going to be a little more flat type panel, and it's going to be more of a, it's not even corrugated. It's going to have I should have brought a sample in, but it's going to be wider so that it looks more flat, but it'll have a little bit of rib. So you get a shadow line to it. It's going to look very nice. I know there's EFS out there, there's brick and different things, but this panel will meld into that neighborhood quite well, I think, from my opinion, that the panel will look good. It won't be a ugly eyesore type look when it's done. It'll look very nice and very finished.
Thank you. Again, we may call you up after if we have questions. Okay, we'll go ahead and close public hearing now to the commission then for discussion and a motion. Thoughts on the discussion or thoughts on either the city staff or what we've heard from the design team?
Maybe a clarification, and if we can go to it, can you guys show the cross section on what they would need to do to meet the standard, or, and as he compared it to other businesses that are right there on that small street?
You're talking about the cross access?
Yes.
Yeah, let's see. So, yeah, in terms of what's accessible area, 24/7 kind of a thing, it would be just this front parking lot. So the gate is right here. So all of this is going to be controlled access, like you mentioned, open during business hours. These are the bins where they'll store mulch and things like that. Yeah. So if there was cross access, it really wouldn't make sense to put it behind the gate because that kind of defeats the purpose. Plus I'd have to have probably 2 gates in that case to control access back there. You'd want it in this front area here.
Where would their parking be if they took that out?
There really isn't anywhere else to put it, unless they put it back behind the gate. But then that kind of, eliminates that public parking there. So this has got to be detention here for the site. They're putting enough hardscape. They have to retain the water. So in order to do that and have the parking and everything and the building layout, keeping this open back here, it's got to be right there.
Yeah, honestly, as I look at this, I know what the code says and we need to try and meet it, but I'm not sure it makes sense in this situation. You've got the cul-de-sac, you've got access to the road right in front of it. There's nowhere for it, the cross access to really take you anywhere. I don't know, maybe I don't know if it makes sense in this situation.
I agree. I drive by this side every day. I don't know how that cross access would work.
Yeah.
To me, it's like if you provide it, it would only be for one other business. I mean, no other place has it. So what's the point of taking parking spots just for one other lot?
I
On
agree.
the same note, as to voice kind of reiterate what Royce mentioned is, if we are going to go that route, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that either, we got to state a good reason for it, other than just cause. I mean, the other businesses in the area don't necessarily have it. That might be enough, but we got to make sure.
Who approves the variant?
There's no variant about.
So, I mean, a variance, like an official variance would have to be a separate process. So that wouldn't be you guys, that would be our hearing officer. And a variance, at least in this case, it's going to be tied to something specific about the property that makes it so that despite every effort, they cannot physically meet the ordinance. And that's not really the case here. I mean, I can't definitively say that, I guess, but
The question then what,
Immediately.
because the car wash is newer and they are not providing cross access.
yeah, so they have a temporary block on the south portion. Let me see if I can pull that up. Because oh, that's what it was. Yeah, we were looking at escape routes, and it was the same kind of thing. So they were looking at the way this was flowing, and again, didn't make sense in that context. So, though I don't know where it's administrative if that sets a precedence for us necessarily.
Is
Because the one to the east does provide cross access, just not to this lot. It provides access going to the south. You can see that the landscaping does break on the south border right there. Yeah.
Oh, that guy. Yep.
But it's just not to they're not providing it in both directions.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know that I would call that access.
It's just
It's
the
an open spot.
This is it's going to be an easement right here. I'm not sure for what off the top of my head, but as I recall, that was some sort of easement that heads east.
so then the car wash did have something.
Yeah, so we did have a discussion about it, and there was discussion about providing it right here. And given the way, like if you're coming into the site, there, I mean, there's no way physically to, right? You're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to go into the car wash. I guess you could go into the car wash that head that direction, but you've got the conflict here, and it created a conflict point. So that was the determination, is because of that conflict, they didn't need to provide it.
Is there, 'cause I'm looking at that, it looks like a pretty solid, I don't see an easy way into the one to the east there, so. From the
Yeah.
car wash.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if we didn't have access across here, it certainly wouldn't be a unique situation, right? They don't have it here, don't have it here. They do have it here, but that's the only place in this area.
I guess that could be our rationale is the neighboring sites do not have it. And the cul-de-sac doesn't really lend itself to needing a cross access ability between the two.
And the benefit of cross access is really for frontage on busy streets. You know, you don't want to have to turn left and then turn left again. If you turn left onto a busy street, then turn left to go next door. And where the cul-de-sac is going to be very low volume and it's really just a short distance too. There's little need, but how to word it so that there's
I don't see with this site, I don't see a compelling reason or benefit to providing that access. Other than the code, of course.
yeah.
Well, we already clearly made the exceptions for the other ones, so I don't necessarily think that there's a problem based on what we've discussed, saying that again.
I mean, you said you said that a precedent isn't strong enough, but I would disagree with that. I think a precedent is a strong enough argument.
Well, I would actually argue that against that because we don't want to. If we start saying precedence does make it right, then eventually that could bite us in the butt. So I don't think saying precedence necessarily for all these other sites, because we didn't do it for them, we won't do it here. But I think if we said the design and structure of this, with it being a low volume cul-de-sac, the being a low volume road, we can make an exception to this, to the site plan because of that, not because of the precedent.
Yeah,
Because if we said that, that's the road we don't want to go down.
Yeah. Other than,
More traditional, specific.
It's this
Exactly.
particular
yeah,
site.
that cross access could be granted on 300 South.
Yep.
Because of the low volume nature and
And just the conditional on because of the design of that piece of property. As a cul-de-sac, the way it's so.
Yeah, it's the way this particular piece of property is situated on the cul-de-sac, and that there really isn't a compelling need that I can see to add the cross access. There's no point in doing it. The road is right there. The road is low volume. We talked about. It's not gaining anything for anybody to have the cross access there.
Right. I mean, even if we said no to this, and said you need to revamp your entire design and all that, there's not really a way with the way that cul-de-sac is designed for there to be a cross access setup feasible with what they are trying to accomplish. So I have no problem saying yes based on the fact that 300 South low volume, cul-de-sac low volume, and the type what they've got does not necessarily necessitate that code enforcement.
Okay, we focus on the cross sections. How about the building materials?
I'm gonna chime in on that real quick.
Please do.
I have reservations based on what we have on the packet, but based on what the gentleman had said just a few moments ago, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to saying yes if we had an example like you said if you'd brought a piece in, that would have been perfect kind of situation. Because as it's visualized there, it definitely does not match up. But if we could have a visualization of what it will look like, that might be a lot more helpful for us to be able to say, okay, yeah, that would fit within the aesthetics of the area.
Hey, Royce, can you bring up the code again regarding the materials?
Yeah, so here you have that 65% requirement, which again, they do meet, but it's exposed, the insulated metal panel section is the issue.
But are they in that section then? Are they in 4? Are they, because this is industrial, right?
Neighborhood services.
Yeah, neighborhood services, so it's going to be in this commercial section. So it looks industrial, but it is technically a commercial zoning, so they are subject to the commercial code.
With the cement, on the board at the bottom now, there's like 4 feet, 6 feet cement all right around the building. Is that included in that 100% number?
Yeah, so that's going to be your, let's see. So they were looking at that as, I believe it was masonry, interpreting the concrete as masonry, because then we discussed it in ARC, adding the masonry. It's going to be concrete. So that our discussion in the ARC was that they wanted to see some sort of masonry there, and so what I received was that showed the concrete underneath.
If you look at the ordinance on the website, there is a definition of masonry. If you click on it, it says masonry means brick, rock, and stone. So we're we're looking at these elevation and trying to decide, does this meet the ordinance? Yes or no? And if you look at primary materials, 65% of all surface materials, not including glass or roofing materials, are required to include a combination of brick, stone, ceramic tile, masonry materials, insulated metal panels. And I think that's probably the question at hand. Is this an insulated panel? Yes or no? The first guy says no. Second guy says maybe. And then it goes on to say we don't want a concrete cinder block building. So I think the question is, does this meet the ordinance? Yes or no, 65%. I don't know if they provided a table of how much glass was there. They certainly don't have masonry. I would not count cement as masonry because the definition says brick, rock, or stone. Cement is not brick, rock, or stone.
I would agree with that.
That's the one issue I've got with it. It doesn't meet the code. I don't see how we can. I don't think we can adjust the code to make that building fit what the code is. Not that I don't think it's a bad design. It's just doesn't meet the code.
Well, I mean, that number 4 just says that some variation in materials along the base and near the entrance is required. So even though it doesn't say that it can't be nearly 100% metal paneling. So that 3 and 5 are compliant, but number 4 is where it's not compliant. However, the requirement is that there's variation in material near the entrance. And I'm looking at the entrance and I'm seeing quite a bit of effort. There's a lot of glass. It's very apparent that that's the entrance. That's inset. It's got a, I don't know if that's intended to be the green post, but I would look at that and say there is some variation in material at the entrance.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission?
I mean, Royce, would you mind scrolling back to items 3 and 4 under the code? So if and Noah kind of touched on this a minute ago when he was talking about the back and forth a little bit about whether or not this qualifies as insulated metal panels. And like I said, it's tough to say based on what's in the site plan, what we have in front of us. Based on that, I would say no, because it doesn't meet the code. We don't have masonry. We don't really know what that is going to look like in the end. It's tough to say yes to that. At the same time, I don't want to, but it's not to code.
Yeah, from our experience, there's 2 separate materials. So you have metal sheeting, that's the shell of a steel building that you see in steel buildings all over, and then they insulate it. And then there's in more of an industrial building, you'll see a product that the insulation is laminated to the back of the steel exterior panel. So that's a different product. So I think it's a fine line, but so I don't know. I didn't do the staff review, and it sounds like we're getting maybe some conflicting information. But if it's that product that has the insulation, the foam that's all, if you look at a product sample, it's like a big thick piece. It comes in these big panels, and they bolt them together, and it's a different thing than a steel sheet with insulation on inside.
Do you have an example of a building nearby we could do a street view on that is this material that you were proposing?
Yeah, I think Royce just pulled up the Pacific Steel building, which is I believe that's insulated metal panel.
Is there one that?
But that's an industrial zone, so I think this happened with Jares too, and it's right next to the industrial park. Everybody, they buy a lot there, and they're like, I want to build an industrial building. And then they find out that the zoning is actually not an industrial zoning. And so it's like, I want to build this steel building. I mean, this is the nicest steel building I've ever seen. It's gussied up. It's got windows. It's got all this stuff, but it's a steel building. It's different than you know, as far as the architectural variety and stuff that you can do on a steel building, it makes it really hard.
I think and Scott, forgive me if I did get this wrong, but I think what he's asking, is there an example of a nearby building or someplace we can look that matches the material of what you were talking about that we could see on the street, on Google Street View? I mean, it wouldn't even necessarily need to be nearby. We could look at it anywhere on Street View.
Another option available to commissions, we could table this and let them work with the staff and try and come up with something to meet that's compliant.
And that's kind of what I was thinking too. But I mean, if we can knock this out tonight, that'd be fine. But the way that's sounding to me is that we will need to table it until we see that material.
It is this Kingspan KS series. Is that what the material is?
Please, if you want to come up.
Wait, these are the official plans that were provided to the city. Is this not the material that you're planning on using?
If you want to come use the microphone, that way people can hear you on the line.
There's a couple of materials. So what's shown on here is an insulated panel. The only difference between that panel and a sheeted panel is that has an iso foamed in board with a metal panel on the outside, a metal panel on the inside. And it has, of course, an R value, which will meet energy codes. It also has, with that system, it's very expensive panel, to be honest. And on a small building like this, it gets very expensive.
This building then?
We can use that, but we were not planning on doing that. We have another flat type panel. Like I say, I wished I'd brought that a sample, but what happens is that's a metal panel also. It's a concealed fastener panel, so they interlock. And it looks the same as what that does from the outside. The only difference is it'll have a fiberglass blanket insulation behind it. And in particular in the offices, instead of burying a back liner panel, it's going to get framed in sheetrock. So you lose the value of that insulated panel in that particular case. The rest of the building would be insulated panel or insulation behind the panel also. But again, that same nice looking concealed fastener panel that locks into place. We're not talking a ribbed panel like you normally see with a pre-engineered building. And you can see the fastener lines and stuff. This is more of a flat look like you would have with EFS or something of that nature. And it's in this particular case, the one we were doing, because it's a little less expensive, is a 16-inch wide panel that interlocks the side joints, of course, and that's why it dresses up and makes it look better. Either an insulated panel that we could do also, or this type of panel, which is a fiberglass. But from the outside, you're seeing the same type of panel look, if you will, more of a flat, more of a architectural look to it rather than just a steel panel. And so, question?
Question for you. What was submitted for us to look at was Kingspan.
Right, but Kingspan's a brand. It's like saying I buy a Xerox copier.
That's what I'm asking. What's the name of the brand that you want?
So the brand we will use is either a metal span, and we've got pricing right now from Kingspan, metal span. There's AWI. There's several panels out there that have a similar configuration. It doesn't need to be. I don't have to buy a Xerox copier, if you will. I can buy a Sharp, or I can buy a Ricoh, etc. But the panel still looks the same.
See if I can investigate that, see what that.
And I hate to table it, but I could get you that panel so you can look at it.
It looks like no one, Royce.
Now there's metal span right there. So like the CF Mesa that you see up there or the Santa Fe is similar to the Kingspan that's on the drawings. And if you go to the products there again, up in the upper left corner, and go to the let's see, go to single skin wall panels to the left. And then go to the let's see, it should be a designer series. Let's see, concept. There should be a designer series up there. That's a new one. Open one of the concept series. That one's more of a rib panel, but it's similar to that, only that one's made to go horizontal, whereas this panel would go vertical and looks similar. Well, it doesn't even look similar to that because that's mostly flat. Every 6 inches, this would have a little 1/2 inch indent in it. I don't know why that metal span. Go up to the products again, if you would, please.
Is that under specialty?
It shouldn't be under specialty, but go to the specialty. Let's see what pops up there. That's a perforated, so that's not really an exterior panel you'd put on as a protection panel. Let's see, if you would, could you go to MBCI's website?
Sorry, NBCI.
M as in mom, MBCI.
Hey, Mr. Chair, can I just chime in?
Yeah, please.
I like learning about different architectural things, but I don't know if it's the best use of time in the planning commission meeting. I would recommend, if they're not wanting to use the materials they included on their submittal, that let's talk with them, figure out whether or not the materials that they propose meet the ordinance, because this is an administrative thing. I mean, I'm sure what you're saying looks nice, but the ordinance says 65% masonry or insulated panel. If what you're saying, this single skin thing, this MBCI, if it's not an insulated panel, it doesn't meet the ordinance and we can't.
But they're both insulated panels.
So
I think I'm
put that on the plan and let's come back and we'll approve it. If that's what it is, insulated panel, let's do it. None of us are architects or professionals on that, but if it checks the box, then these guys have to approve it. It's an administrative type thing.
Yeah.
Where we're getting a curveball is we're sitting here discussing all these other things that aren't on the plan.
We don't know whether or not it checks.
Yeah, we're trying to find a way to make it check the box. We don't know. I can't make the motion, but I would recommend to the planning commission that we table this tonight with the condition that we let them work with staff and come back with a plan that is compliant with the ordinance. I can't make that motion, but if someone wants to make it.
And I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion. Have a second?
Can I ask one question? Is the insulated panels shown, is that something that is approvable?
I need you to work with staff on that.
Okay.
Now, what was in the plans is that appeared to be an insulated metal
That's an
panel.
that's an insulated panel that was in the plan. It was just a brand of insulated panel. There's other brands that do similar configuration, but
Okay.
thanks for your.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
So do you want me to?
If you want to go ahead and state the motion.
Yeah, I'll state it now. Mr. Chair, I move that the planning commission table the request of Jeremy Bingham for the commercial site plan of earthworks on property located at 1472 West 300 South in the neighborhood services zone until staff is able to reconcile the question of the insulated metal panels and the exterior works of the architecture of the building.
Thank you.
We can bring this back in what?
I just say when they're ready.
When they're ready.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Sorry.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, Commissioner Hunter votes nay. The rest of the commission voted in favor. Motion passes. Next item is public hearing for conditional use permit for Brighter Path Education Preschool. I guess maybe Noah, you've got this one, or Mike's got this one. Okay.
We got Mike.
All right.
Okay, this is a request for a major conditional use permit for a preschool that's asking to have more than 8 children for more than 4. Let's see, sorry, more than 4 children. Okay, more than 4 sessions with more than 8 children. And I think the applicant is here and she can answer your questions on details on that. We've included the ordinance regarding the major home occupation B. Some of the traffic pattern in the packet, and one of the things that we'd like to clarify is that the parts that are labeled parking on the traffic flow are actually for loading. So they will be, we'll let her tell you about how much time people will be stationed there. But anyway, that's what we've got.
Okay, thank you, Mike. This is scheduled for public hearing tonight. I'm going to go to the commission. We want to have the applicant speak to us first. We want a public hearing first.
Do public hearing first.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open public hearing then. This is public hearing for this particular item. And if you have a comment, please come up. If you're the applicant, if you want to wait, I'll call and you can come up afterwards. So we'll open public hearing. And we'll close public hearing. So back to the commission. And would you like us to invite the applicant up, or do we want to discuss as a commission first?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to come up to the podium, or state your name and address and.
Sorry.
Okay.
My name is Jessica House. I'm at 1679 South, 1250 West, where the preschool and where located.
Thank you. And I guess do we want the question staff right up about the loading and unloading? Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so so we have a map that has approved spaces that parents can drop their children off. I will stagger the drop off and the pickup times so that not all 12 cars will be there at the same time, because there's not enough space for that. So they will be staggered by like 5-minute increments, only have 5 minutes to drop their kid off or pick them up. I have and then all of the drop off and pickup zones are not blocking mailboxes or driveways of our neighbors. And it's pulled away from Antelope so that cars turning on that street from Antelope, there's not a car right there.
Okay, so we have green on the west side, it looks like. So there would be kids crossing the street, right?
Yes.
Just 1250 West. I know that area really well. 1250 West is not a busy street.
It's not. Antelope is, but 1250 West is not.
I've gone down that road a number of times. In fact, I think you actually live not too far from French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a school there now and you want increase, or is this a new?
This is it will be a new preschool.
Has there been any discussion with the neighbors about that? Is there any concerns?
They haven't brought up anything. Most of them know what's happening, especially like the one that it would affect the most is just our right next door. And they've known about it and they haven't said anything about it. So
Is there any kind of, I know it's 5-minute increments. I also historically, knowing from when I had kids in preschool as well, knowing that parents don't always follow those exact rules.
yeah.
Heavens knows why, but is there any is there any kind of option as far as redirect? I don't know if this is even feasible, but to redirect should you have an overabundance of parking. I mean, I'm looking at that. There's probably 8 cars worth of parking right there, maybe a little bit more. Should there be more than that? Is there some kind of workaround to go north along that cross street?
If you keep going, there is a cul-de-sac. So if you turn, you can't see it, but if you keep going,
Turn to the west, right?
yeah, so if you turn, yeah, there's a cul-de-sac. So if they needed to turn in that cul-de-sac, they would just have to walk farther over to my house.
Oh, you're talking, okay.
If you go.
Oh, yes.
Back to the east end.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you go north one house, there's a cul-de-sac that goes over to the east.
Yes. So if they needed to, if all of the parking was full, I would rather them not park in that cul-de-sac, but they are able to. If they needed to, they would just have to walk further into the house. And I would let parents know that if they needed to walk that far, they would need to get out of the car and walk their child over to the house.
But something else I know about parents is that they don't want to very far to pick up their kids.
Yes. And if I have parents that need to stay for any reason, we did put gravel into the side yard. So I have my driveway and then the side lining up. So that side is now gravel. So there's 3 parking spots in my driveway that if they needed to park and stay for a while, they can be off the street in the parking.
Excellent.
Great. So
Sounds good.
I got no further questions for.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No, and I think if they showed it here, that she meets all the other requirements for a fully fenced yard.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, discussion or motion from the commission?
I made the last.
Remind
So
me,
the-
on
yeah.
conditional use permits, those come up for renewal, is that correct?
I don't think so.
We can set a requirement.
So for something like this, no. Business license, yes, but the conditional use permit itself, unless there's an issue with it. That one that we had, was that a couple years ago? It's only if there's violations that we bring it up for review.
Okay.
Great.
Do we review it if the property were sold or they moved or anything like that? Noah left. You can sit there now, Royce.
Yeah, the conditional use permit in this case is going to be tied to her name. So yeah, she moves. The next person's going to need a business license, which would cue redoing this.
Okay, so I know some conditional uses go with the property. I just wanted to make sure this wasn't one of those.
Yeah, good question.
Okay, any other comments or we can take a motion?
And just so that it's a major conditional use because she's having 6 sessions with 12 each. So this would be 6 days with 12,
It says Tuesday.
3 days, twice a day.
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's in the second paragraph of the background.
Okay.
That's right there in the second
All right, there.
paragraph.
Okay, I just didn't get down that far when I was reviewing.
Ready?
I'm ready. You ready to make one?
I'll make a motion that we move to approve the major conditional use permit for Brighter Path Preschool located at 1679 South, 1250 West, the R3 residential zone, subject to all applicable requirements of the city's municipal codes. And wish her the best.
Okay, you have a motion and a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next item is a discussion motion on a final plat for Scion Homes for RC's Park West Phase 2.
Oh, there we go. This one is a rubber stamp. So this is the second phase. So for RC's Park West, for those of you who are around 2020, well, 2020, I guess it was a while ago, 2021.
Yep.
It's a PRD development. You can see the existing lot lines for phase 1. So we've got some townhomes, single family. Let me zoom out here. This phase is primarily townhomes. Well, it's all townhomes. So this is Gordon Avenue here, 2700. So again, it's that kind of leftover space.
That's a question I had.
Yes.
It's not Gordon Avenue in Syracuse City, is it?
That is a very good question. I always call them by the numbers, and I find that some of the old timers, so to speak, they use the numbers, and it seems like there's sort of a middle range where they like to use the names. I'm not really sure.
Well, the reason I say I know in Layton it is Gordon Avenue, but when it comes to Syracuse, the address system changes. It's not Gordon Avenue.
It's 27.
It's 2700 West. You know, and
South.
2700 South. Sorry, 2700 South. And I know Antelope Drive, the city eventually changed the name of that road because everybody kept calling it that.
Right.
But I guess when I saw this, I was looking over the packet, I was tempted to say I'm voting no because the drawing's not correct.
Yeah. Well, we can always have a condition that we remove that so it's not ambiguous.
I'd like to have it follow Syracuse City's addressing and not Layton City's addressing.
Sure. That works for me. I do the addressing for the city, and I love the numbers. So
And this is the hill that he's willing to die on.
A little bone to pick.
well, I Commissioner or Mr. Chair, I have the same gripe, so you're echoing my thoughts.
Yeah.
But I'm also not from Syracuse, so I don't feel like I have a dog in the fight. But no, if that's something you'd like, though, as part of an approval, you can make that a condition of approval that we modify that if you'd like. I would, I mean, I could always go back through and look at other plats. Again, that's more of a archaeology project, I guess, just to see what's
To me,
what's Gordon and what's
doesn't
not.
really matter what's been done in the past as much. I'd just like to make sure it's correct going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That
And
works for
even
me.
though I agree with you, I always call it Gordon Avenue as well.
Well, I know a lot of people do because that's what Layton calls it and it connects to Layton, but Layton and Syracuse have different addressing systems. I mean, Syracuse and Clearfield and Clinton all use the same addressing system. Layton had to be different. So they're different.
Hey, I'm up on that hill with you, man.
At least it's not 1,000 north. I mean,
Yeah,
right?
true. Okay, sorry to get off on I'll get off my soapbox
Nope,
now.
that's okay. Nope, Syracuse is great because we don't have north or east addresses. Makes it easy. So let's see. So private drives in here. All of these have been addressed as well. The lots individually. I'm still working on addressing in here. Whenever we get to these townhomes, it becomes a little bit of an issue. So I'm working with the post office to see what they want to make sure we have the right information, but we will make sure that's on there obviously before the plat's recorded. But barring addressing, which that's in progress, everything else meets all the requirements of the ordinance, and addressing obviously will too. So we'd recommend approval.
Okay. Any comment or anything else from the commission on my motion?
I'm ready to make a motion. I will make sure everybody else is good on discussion.
I'm fine.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that the planning commission approve the request conditionally based on the plan be adjusted to reflect Syracuse City standards for our addressing system for the final plat called RC Park West Phase 2 on property located at 1693 West, 2700 South in the PRD zone.
Okay, a motion, a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is to adjourn into work session. So we'll take a motion to adjourn to work session.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are now in work session. So the council, Paul, you have anything for us? Okay. I was told that the city denied the commercial one that we recommended.
Oh, you thought you didn't have anything for us. We had something for you.
Sorry, which one?
The one across from Walmart that was originally wanted mixed use, didn't have enough land, so we approved changing to commercial, and then
I don't know if we voted on that
or if we just discussed it and have yet to vote on it, but whether, that's funny that I can't remember if we voted on it, but yeah, we were, I think we just discussed it in a work session, but there wasn't enough support to move forward with rezoning that without having some specifics or knowing what was going on there. So,
Pretty much the same concerns we had.
yeah. Yep. So,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other things that I need to update you on that I don't remember?
While we have you.
I have a question for you after, but it has nothing to do
Okay.
with anything city council wise.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks. City attorney, anything for us? I guess that's nothing. Okay. Okay, have our
Nothing for you.
the next one is the bylaws update. We discussed this at last meeting and staff has brought forward a recommended update to the bylaws.
Yeah, did you guys read it?
I did.
We good? Okay.
Yes. It's not still what I want, but yes.
Yeah, so if you have less than 4 votes, you can at least table it.
Yeah.
If you have less than 4 votes, you can't pass or deny it. Which, like we debated, that's probably a good idea, just in case there's a controversial thing and not everybody's here, and all of a sudden we passed it without everybody. And
Yeah, we need to be able to at least move forward some way. So
yeah.
And I again, I want to make a big deal out of it again, but I agree with what you're saying. We don't want to be stuck in a never-ending loop. So this gives us an out.
Yep.
If there's a stubborn person that refuses to let it be a unanimous table.
Scott.
Oh.
Somebody's got to hold up this end of the tank, the platform.
Okay, so this one, I guess we need to bring it to our regular meeting to approve it then, so city council can.
Yeah, we'll vote on it and then we'll
Okay.
send it off to them.
Want to avoid any John Grisham novels, books for some, right?
Yeah, it's true.
I've got my Grisham. You have your Grisham.
Okay, and then last time we also talked about the shade trees, and so we've got an updated ordinance here that we can take a look at.
Yeah, we talked about the spacing. I thought you guys had a good idea just to knock them down 10 feet. There's probably situations in the city where they're even closer than the 20 feet, but it's not like we're going to go make those people tear their trees down unless they're messing up the sidewalk or something weird like that. And then I took the list to J&J's because I figured this is the closest nursery to our residents. They'll probably be going there. And I sat down with their head tree guru. I don't know what his title was, but he said some of these trees I've never even heard of. So I figure if the guy that works at J&J hasn't even heard of some of these trees, and they're not available in local nurseries, we probably should just take them off the list.
Okay.
So whatever city it was that we copied from originally, I don't know, maybe it wasn't even in Utah. And then there were some trees that were on there 2 or 3 times on the same list. And then, yeah, and then not everybody understands scientific names, but it's the best way to ensure you're getting the right tree, because sometimes common names are mixed up and there's a few different common names. But if you use the scientific name with the specific variety, you know what you're getting and you're less likely to.
You ask for a pear tree, you might get a flowering pear tree.
Yes, that would be detrimental.
So I guess maple must have a different name than what I recommended mine, because I'm not seeing any maples on there at all.
So maple is Acer.
Oh, is that Acer? Okay.
I have a quick question regarding this. Do we have I don't want to necessarily use the term loophole, but for lack of a better term, loophole for someone that comes along and says, I want to put in completely obscure random tree that is not on the list, but I have all of the information for it that says it will only get to this big. And here are some examples of 100-year-old version of it that's only so big. Do we have?
There it is.
There's your loophole.
Okay. We're good.
Yeah, that was already in there. So, I mean, somebody
so.
could
I just wanted to double check.
come in and say, this is a really good one, and it's not on the list.
Would it cause too much confusion to put the common name out like Acer and then in parentheses?
No, we could do the common names. It just, we might need more columns or maybe we'll just do 2 rows for each one,
You'd put a parenthesis right behind it.
or yeah, or some sort of parenthesis.
I-
Parentheses.
I'm just thinking if I was looking at this and said, I want to put in a nice small maple tree, I don't know if I would find Acer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, a little trivia. Who could find oak? Who knows oak? Scientific name.
Ask Google.
Oh, I'm so disappointed right now.
I'm sorry.
Ocus Macusmus. Hey, I took a shot.
That was good. No, I'm just messing with you guys.
Which one is it?
Quercus. What is Quercus?
Quercus is an oak. Okay.
Workus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to put a like common names or something like that.
I've never
They
heard.
are.
I've never heard the word Quercus in my life.
I'm probably even pronouncing it wrong. Okay, the other thing I added in here and wanted to run by you guys is the utility thing. So currently it says no one may plant street trees other than those species listed as small trees under or within 10 lateral feet of any overhead utility wire. Like the only thing that's going to be overhead is a power line, I think that I
Yeah.
can think of.
Well, you have phone lines in some areas.
Oh, that's a good point.
And cable lines for that.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Cable over above ground too sometimes. Okay, stand corrected.
That's what the low ones are usually. If they're up on top, electrical. If they're down low where they can sag a little
Oh,
lower,
okay.
it generally is more utility.
It could be
Okay.
phone or cable TV or something like that.
So we might want to change this. And then it says, or over or within 5 lateral feet of any underground water line, sewer line, transmission line, or other utility. So if you look in every park strip,
Yeah,
right down the middle of it, there is a gas line.
Yeah, you're gonna take away most of the ability to put in trees and park strips.
So according to this, so if our goal is to loosen it up so that we can actually plant more trees in the city, currently, if you read this and you say other utility is a gas is a other utility, it'd be very hard to plant within 5 lateral feet. And it does say you can do it with a small tree. So we'll just end up with a lot of small trees in the park strip, and maybe that's okay. But even with a 10-foot park strip, you can't get 5 feet away from that thing without.
I agree with that.
I like that change.
And we were we touched base on this a little bit when we were talking about some of those older neighborhoods in Ogden, whatnot, with those massive trees along the slightly wider park strips and everything. And, we plant trees not so that we can rest under their shade, but so that our kids and our grandchildren can rest under their shade. So I like that change.
Especially, we also talked about last time trying to have a way to, if people take out their park strip grass, they could put trees in there in place of it to help kind of cool things down or, provide a.
And that's part of the whole, reduce water consumption.
Yep.
So
I guess the other option is we could spell it out. We have or power transition line, phone line, internet line, cable. We could just spell out everything we can think of and then just purposely exclude gas.
I know you told me to laid fiber right underneath mine.
well, why don't we just put all utilities excepting gas line?
We could say that.
And then you wouldn't have to, because what if someday we have something that is no longer classified as cable, phone, or anything 20 years from now? I know it's something we could revisit, but
So
nip
Yeah.
it in the bud now.
with that,
With the gas line.
I mean,
because
we have fiber lines that are running in front of it, just next to all the gas lines now. So
Most of the fiber is at the back of the sidewalk in that utility easement, but there are some in the park strip as well. And
The fiber.
in all reality, the trees are gonna the ones that we really need to worry about are the roots that are gonna find the water and the sewer and the, especially if it's a gravity type thing like a sewer, their roots can get in there. But not saying a big tree root couldn't damage a cable and even the gas, I think those are like a poly line, or those yellow poly, and they're kind of a little bit flexible.
The fiber lines are also in the same exact material, it's just orange instead of
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah, they're pretty flexible that way.
So they can kind of get pushed around a little bit. So yeah, that's not a bad idea. Do you guys want to just leave that section all the same? And then behind other utility, you could say excluding gas, just to
Right.
clarify.
Yeah.
Because that's really the problem child there is right in the middle of every park strip, you got a gas line.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like it. And then this will come before us at an upcoming meeting then too.
Yeah, we can do a public hearing for it and next meeting's busy.
You might want to also, power transmission lines are like the big, and so this would be, everything that's buried in our city is distribution lines. So that may be,
The power transmission lines are the great big.
power transmission are the big.
Oh, yeah.
Long
We have no
distances.
transmission line.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
maybe I'll just drop that. So it would read any underground water line, sewer line, transmission line, or other utility, a parenthesis excluding gas.
Why not just see an underground utility line, an underground utility excluding gas lines? Make it easier for you.
Yeah, you wouldn't even have to specify water, sewer. You just say any underground utility line, like you were saying.
Oh. Yeah, we could do that.
That way there's no question. Whatever's there.
Okay. I guess if some unlucky folks end up with the Utopia fiber internet in their park strip, they're just stuck to the small tree.
Put your trees in your lawn.
I mean, mine is right on the edge, like right on the edge of my sidewalk in the park strip. So
Well, you could change it to say any underground, I'm trying to think of because trees don't care. I mean, like you said, the trees go after the water.
Do you just want to do wet utility?
Maybe wet
Any
utility.
underground?
Somebody even know what that we're talking about if we said wet utilities?
I don't know, I'm just trying to think of a way to make it so that the stuff with like a gas line or a Utopia line or things like that isn't going to be an issue.
Yeah, maybe we don't care about those.
Well, I think the ones we care about are the ones the trees are going to mess with, and that's water and sewer, and maybe I don't know if it messes with power and if they're attracting electricity or not, but I would say,
it shouldn't have spelled.
yeah, I'd probably say water and sewer or similar utilities or something like that. But
Yeah, so maybe specifying that would be better.
Okay. I can bounce it off maybe the public works department and
I mean, the main concern is the sewer, right? Because everything else is, our water lines are
pressurized.
and they're not going to get into that. They're
Yeah,
going to around it, and power they're going to ignore. It's pretty small, and all the conduits are really small. It's just really the sewer line, right? Or unless
Yeah,
you
I
have
think
a
so.
storm drain that's going through somebody's easement, but I don't know if we have that.
No, we have storm drains are in the road. We do have land drains sometimes, but those are in the road too.
Yeah.
So do we just specify sewer? Within 5 lateral feet of
Yeah, I think
a sewer
public
line?
works is probably gonna be the ones that we have to keep happy here because
Are-
they worry about this stuff.
I'll maybe check with Robert and see if they have some recommendation for how they'd word that then.
and our sewer lines should be 12 feet deep too.
Should be.
Do we have an ordinance that we allow them to be shallow and then near the deep dive down to the sewer?
Well, I know that there's a sewer inspection. Our inspectors go and check. So it's got to be at a slope that will roll, and it's got to be below the frost line. So I'm not sure how detailed that inspection is once it drops to the road. I think as long as it's a certain percentage and above. I don't know if it would fail the inspection if it was like 75% drop, but as long as it drains, I think is the goal. I could ask on that one. I'm not sure.
I do know they have to be relatively shallow. You have to connect in the top 3/4 of the main. So if they're coming out on the road, they can't go lower than that, because then it doesn't drain and it can backflow.
All those pre-construction meetings just finally came in handy.
Paying attention to something.
But I mean, not necessarily where it's connecting into the road, because the main line in the road should be 12 feet deep, right? But going to the house, the lateral,
I don't know if they're 12 feet deep.
how shallow can they be in the park strip, right? That would be the question. Is that will we have
Probably pretty dang deep, is my guess.
Well, yeah, will they still be that deep where a big tree root?
I don't know if they're 12 feet deep.
8 feet deep. I mean, they're down there. They're down there ways.
There is a set of engineering drawings on our website if we really wanted to delve into it. Yeah, there's a cross section on the engineering website, engineering drawings and specifications. Brian, our engineer, is he still on here? Or did he drop off? He gone. Yeah, I'll touch base with Public Works and try to wordsmith something.
Okay.
If you guys are okay, just bringing it back to vote on it, or we can do a work meeting if you want to inspect it first.
I'm fine with bringing it back to vote on it. If the rest of the commission feels otherwise, we can do otherwise.
No, and I just want to say, I appreciate the removal of tree section in H.
You guys okay with?
Because one of the big
Absolutely.
issues that I dealt with in town in another city was sidewalk safety and stuff. And so in here, we say if it starts moving sidewalks or causing a safety issue, we can remove the tree or the roots, you know. We don't want to kill the tree sometimes if we can.
Yeah, we send those letters out all the time. And yeah, the city's at risk of liability if that sidewalk is uneven and somebody falls, they could sue us.
I've got some of mine that go up and down like this in my neighborhood.
Salt Lake City is being sued right now for that exact.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, this is that
Yeah,
for that reason, that's why Public Works doesn't love street trees. Just because they do cause a lot of damage and they expose the city to some liability. Yeah, I've got a big old, gotta take care of it in my backyard. Risks and benefits, we will weigh both sides. They do provide a lot of benefits.
That's true.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool.
The next item is upcoming agenda items. We talked about 2 of them. We have more than.
Let me pull this up real quick. All right, so coming up for next time, we have a site plan for a small industrial building over by the pizza factory. We have a plat amendment to the corner of 2400 West and 2700 South subdivision. They want to do a subdivision amendment and split their lot. We have a subdivision called Agate Estates, and I don't know if that's going to go through next time necessarily, but that is coming up. That is just pull up the map here. I can, realizing I'm describing these places, I can just show you. I'm a visual person.
Oh, wonderful.
All right.
Internet.
So there we go. Yeah, Agate Estates right here. This is Fremont Estates. We also have the Sadie's Glen property, which we approved this one a couple of years ago for single family here. And they're going for more of a retirement community. It's going to go all the way from 2495, extend that down, and then come down south here, mixture of townhomes and single family. So that one's going to be for PRD. So we've got preliminary plat, development agreement, all that stuff. And then we have the Rampton concept, and that's going to be just southeast on these properties here. They're looking at a combination of commercial here and residential, but not doing mixed use. They're going to split the zoning and do general commercial and PRD. And then we also, let's see, Edgewater Cove Preschool. I'm not familiar with where that is off the top of my head, but we have another preschool conditional use permit. So like tonight. We have a couple others that are sort of swirling around, but nothing that's coming up immediately for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Awesome. And just a question that we finish this, 20 or 3,000 west and 1,700 south. You know, there's a Chevron now that's being advertised that's going in on that corner.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah, we have received an application. It's actually a jet. I've never heard of that before. Maybe Chevron is the gas company. I don't know. But yeah, we did receive an application and we will be looking at that one here in the next few weeks.
We've got a big sign on that corner now. Chevron right here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's permitted use in the zone, so I suppose that makes sense. But they actually applied for building permit, super excited, and then realized it didn't have approval. So you gotta talk to us first.
And then car wash approved that. That's
Correct. Yep.
in that same block.
Just north of that Chevron.
So that was going to be a Maverick. So Maverick must have sold it to.
Something, yeah.
They backed down.
Something happened.
Yeah. Well, they
And
didn't.
they also backed out of the other.
They
one.
didn't need four of them within a mile stretch of each other.
Well, I think they had gotten wind that the Costco was
Competing against Costco gas is not fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually kind of personally surprised that the gas station still has interest for anybody going in, considering what's going in right across the street. So it's gonna create a harsh business competition for them.
I don't like waiting at Costco gas.
Hey,
Yeah, that'll be a game changer. Hey, Mr. Chair, I don't know if it's up to you, but under attorney updates, he has a training for you guys. You're interested.
let's do that then.
It looks like, it's not too late in the night, about 15 minutes.
Let's go ahead and jump
It's
back.
up to you.
We'll do the training then. And then while he's getting set up, we have commissioner reports wise. Okay, so that means after the training, let's move to adjourn then.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I will say this week is the spring APA conference, Utah chapter of the American Planning
Okay.
Association. It's in Cedar City. There are some planner tracks and stuff. If anybody did want to just drive down, I know it's a haul, but you're always welcome to. Let me know if you're interested.
Okay, thank you. When is that? This week. Is
If you have time.
tomorrow?
It is tomorrow through Friday. Yeah, you can Google Utah APA, American Planning Association.
My hometown.
Sounds like a good excuse to.
Yeah, they're talking all things planning in Cedar City. So Shakespeare Festival. And
Well, Friday I'm leaving on an Alaska cruise, so I'm not gonna do that.
Ticket sales are gone. Can't register for the APA conference.
At the next meeting. I made. Yeah.
excuse me, are we having more than one conversation in this public meeting?
Sorry, it might impact a future meeting, this discussion. So,
We're trying to figure out conflicts and schedule.
okay, let's go with this and then we'll go to our conflicts schedule issue after that.
Thank you. You get to have annual open public meetings training. There's nothing in the law that says how in-depth it has to be or how long it has to be. So hopefully we'll get through this in about 10 minutes. However, if you'd like the long version, I can arrange that for you.
Short.
I think this lady by the A is sick for tongue out.
This graphic looks like it's AI generated.
First definition that we'll talk about is the definition of a public body. It's an administrative, advisory, executive, or legislative body created by the Constitution, statute, rule, ordinance, or a resolution, in other words, created by state law, with two or more individuals, that spends, disburses, or is supported by tax revenue. Any suggestions on whether or not this particular commission is a public body?
We are.
Indeed, you are. And you have the authority to make decisions regarding the public's business.
I'm
Next.
surprised as few as two can constitute one. That was-
Yeah, two can do it. Next is definition of a quorum. Simple majority of the membership. So in your case, that's 4 or more. You have 7 members. Next one is a relevant matter. This is a new definition in this year's statute. They define relevant matter as a matter within the scope of a public body's authority, and that's it. And then they use all those definitions together to come up with the definition of a meeting. So it's a gathering of your public body with a quorum present, convened by a person who has the authority to do that, following the proper legal process, which notice, and we'll talk about that in a moment, to receive public comment about or deliberate about or take action on a relevant matter. So if you guys all get together some night and decide to play darts, is that a public meeting? It is not. If you decide to play darts and discuss a subdivision, is that a public meeting? You should all be nodding your heads like this. Okay, public meetings. Meetings are open to the public unless they're closed. Do you ever have a closed meeting with this planning commission? No. Never, ever. Then I think we'll just flip through these and you can read them and we don't even need to talk about them. There are certain reasons why you can have closed meetings. There are reasons how to get that done. But since you don't do it, I'm just going to keep on scrolling. Yeah, I remember this last year.
But the graphic was different.
Yeah, the graphic is different. This is AI generated. Look at the guy's hand that's got the one that's looking at you like a Cary Grant with weird eyes. See right there, his strange little finger, that mechanical sort of, my fingers are half developed and they're hooked on strings.
Not mentioning the hands immediately adjacent to his. Those are worse.
They're all bad. I look at this one and I think it's one of those little ropes that the U of U is trying to develop or something. But that's a problem with AI. They're all creepy.
Look at it first again.
Okay, don't look anymore. All right, let's talk about notice. You do have notice. It's public notice. It's at least 24 hours in advance of your meeting, and you have to have an agenda that has the time, the date, the place, the items to be discussed. And of course, for public hearings, there are certain additional requirements that have to be met depending on the nature of the public hearing. Recordings and minutes, because you're a public meeting, both are required. You can do different things for closed meetings. We won't worry about those. Penalties for violation. If you have a knowing or intentional violation of the Open and Public Meetings Act, that's a Class B misdemeanor. I get to prosecute you for that. Here's the new part. In a civil suit to avoid a final action taken by a public body, it used to be that the court may award attorney's fees and costs. Actually, it used to be that they could award costs. Now they can award attorney's fees. So if you take a public action and somebody contests that and beats it in court and comes back, not only do they get a redo on whatever you did, they now get their $250,000 for the attorney's fees they spent, if the court awards it. And now my favorite part of this 10-minute training, which is ethics. If it looks like a dead fish, if it smells like a dead fish, if it stinks like a dead fish, you might want to poke it, you might want to smell it, you might want to kick it with your foot, but please don't pick it up and eat it. The reason we have Ethics Act is to protect the public. Offenses rather, are things that will get you in trouble. If you disclose or improperly use non-public information acquired in the course of your official duties to benefit you or someone else, that's an offense. If you use your position to substantially benefit your economic interest or the economic interest of someone else, that's an offense. So let's assume that you've got something coming before you And all of a sudden you learn there might be a Costco down the street and you go buy acreage right next to that Costco because you learned that information as a planning commissioner, and you benefit yourself and your neighbors and your friends and your family forever and ever. You might have some trouble there. Can't take bribes, can't solicit gifts, cannot agree to approve something in exchange for money. None of these should be any surprise to you. And of course, if you have a personal interest in the project, you must actually recuse yourself from the discussion of that. Here's the exceptions. Under $50 in value, or a public award for recognition of your service, or a bona fide loan, or a political campaign contribution, which you won't have sitting on the planning commission. Every year you will have a developer who will bring into the planning commission area, the building commission folks over here, the standard Western nut tray for Christmas, right? And they put it there and everybody eats it. That's fine. But when that person happens to bring in two tickets to the next Taylor Swift concert, you did $600 or $700 a piece, turn those down. And I love Taylor Swift. My granddaughter told me I love Taylor Swift, so I do. Penalties, it's a Class B misdemeanor to a second-degree felony, depending on the value of whatever it is that you either pocketed for yourself or accepted from someone. Civilly, the transaction can be rescinded, basically undone and start over. And finally, if you're looking for a way to get off the planning commission, it can result in removal for office. And that is your annual training for public meetings and ethics.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Now that
You've met it for city council.
Give them the long.
you can skip it now.
I had to give them the dumbed down longer version.
They have to worry about closed meetings. The item that we were talking about down here a little bit is on June the 4th. I will be out of town and will not be able to call in. Lon is saying that he might be. Will we have enough to have a quorum that meeting? Is anybody else going to be gone on June 4th?
We'll be around on June 4th.
You will be or will not be?
I will be.
Okay.
I'll be here.
I may be in Bear Lake, but I'll be able to join remotely if that's the case.
On our annual calendar, do we anticipate the Tuesday after Memorial Day? Or is this a week after Memorial Day?
It's a week after.
We didn't anticipate this.
No, this wasn't one that we asked about. It's just a lot of people just be out of town.
For me, it's a work. I didn't just came up today, a work request. It's not set in stone for me.
So we are at 3? 4?
Gonna be there, Scott?
We have a family camp out that week. I'm trying to think if we leave Tuesday or Wednesday. Let me look it up.
I guess I just want to make sure we have enough to have a meeting that night.
What about Dennis?
Dennis said he could.
Yes, I'll be available, but
That means
Yeah, so I would have to call in and may not have service. So
okay,
probably.
so it's only at most 4 with 1 remote. Do we want to go for the meeting or do you want to?
What do you think, Mr. Chair? Should we cancel it?
My recommendation would be to cancel because we have that many people gone and people calling in. That might make it more difficult to run the meeting.
Chair and vice.
Chair and vice are both gone. So James would have to run the meeting from Bear Lake with an iffy internet signal if it's like other ones.
Oh, I have solid internet.
Okay.
Whether or not I'll be able to join or not may be the case, but I agree with that. Council probably good. Council. I don't know.
Okay.
It fell in my shoes to have to.
Because you're the next most senior member.
I'm out.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and cancel the meeting on June the 4th then due to lack of a quorum. Rather than have people show up and I have a quorum here, I think it's better to cancel ahead of time when we know we're gonna have problems.
Sounds good.
sound good.
Okay. Next item is to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Motion passes. Thanks, everybody, for attending tonight. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I work for a federal contractor, so I go through way more ethics training. I work for them.